the way a church raised me back then was not to have a relationship with God, it was to fear God. So it was just all about following the rules, and if you follow the rules, then everything will work out. After I graduated high school, I went down to Florida for school, UCF, and that was my first time away from home. And it was really far, like obviously, like furthest away from where I've ever been. And just being down there by myself, a lot of like negative things started like happening in my life, and then my relationship with my father like deteriorated a little bit because of like personal like family issues. And so I started questioning. I was like I've been following the rules all my life. Why is bad things happening to me? I really couldn't see an answer. So then I was like, what's the point of like keeping following this life if like my life's not going to be good, which is what I thought it was supposed to be. And so I left the church for a long time, and like I was lost, like lost in the world. Um, and so it's 7, 8 years ago, I decided. I was like, this is not who I am. Like, it's time for me to, like, there was always that voice in the back of my head, but like I was ignoring it. And then I was like, yeah, like it's time for me like to try and go back, to find who I really am. And so at this point, I had moved to Orlando, and I just like Googled like trying to find a church in Orlando, and I found two churches that was close to me. And so I was like, okay. One Sunday, I got up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this church. And then it was like, and then when I drove there, like there was empty, like there was no one there. And I walked up to the door and the door was locked. And I was like, it was like in a school auditorium. And so I was like, oh, this is a sign. Like God doesn't want me back. God doesn't want me back. I was like, I just gotta go back home. And so I sat in my car for like 10 minutes, and there was like something like, all right, just go check out the other location. You know, you pick two, so like this one didn't work out, like go to the other location. And so like I followed myself for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, okay, well, you're already out, so just go to the other location. And then I went to the other church. It was called No Church in Orlando. And I mean, that church like saved my life, pretty much brought me back to God. I sat there, and like the message that day, the pastor, his name is Dr. Colin Outerbridge, and he was preaching about everything like I had just been through. So it's like God brought me there and was just speaking directly to me. That church is really where I started really finding God and finding who God really is, and being in a relationship with Him, and finding what grace was and what grace really means. That church brought me back to God, but then that was cut short because I had to relocate. So I had to move to North Carolina. I had to move to Charlotte. And so I Google churches again. I was like Googling churches in Charlotte. And so I picked like 3 or 4. And the new city obviously came up because I put my zip code in, and it was like 5 minutes away. So I was like, I'm gonna save that one for last because it's the closest. So I'm gonna go check out the other ones first. And I went to about three different churches, and then I came to new city, my last church. And as soon as I walked through the door, like I felt like a warmth, like from the people, from the greeters. But I came, I sat, I listened to service. I loved the way Pastor Chris taught from the Bible, and the way he put stuff in context, historical context, personal context. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so I sat next to this guy named Jeremy. Obviously, he didn't know me then. And after the service, we all get up to walk around, and he just started talking to me. And he asked me, like, what's your name? Like, I haven't really seen you here. Like, are you new? And I was like, yeah, I just relocated up here, looking for a church. Told him a little bit about my story. He told me a little bit about himself, and he was like, you want to meet Chris? You want to meet the pastor? I was like, yeah. And he brought me down the aisle, and Chris usually stands up front. And so I went and I talked to Chris, and I told him a little bit about me, and he told me a little bit about New City. And that's the only church out of the 4 that I visited where like a congregation member actually stopped and spoke to me, and right there just made me feel a sense of like community and family. Like, even though I felt like an outsider, like he just brought me in, even though it was like his first time seeing me. And so I was like, well, like this is a place God wants me to be. This church has helped me strengthen my relationship with God through Academy. Like Academy has really like helped me dive deep into who I am and who God is, and it's helped my faith in God grow. Um, I think a thousandfold through, and it was just amazing to see like what they preach here, like helping people find and follow Jesus, and to see like the congregation members actually live that out, and to just like talk to a complete stranger. And I was like, this is the kind of place I want to be. This is the kind of place I want to grow. Um, I believe with all my heart that God like placed me in Charlotte for a reason, and like He placed me at like that new city for a reason. And now I'm looking forward to trying to find what that purpose is, and looking forward to walking with New City, and hopefully New City helps me along that journey to finding what that purpose is in Charlotte. So